Humour me for a moment. I'm going to ask you to think of a selection of cars from different corners of the world. If I said to you, think of a selection of German cars, you'd probably think BMW, Mercedes, Porsche. Quite easy to think of a few. Think of some French cars, even that a bit more complicated, but you'll think of some. Renault, Alpine, Citroën, easy peasy. American cars, Dodge, Chevrolet, easy. You think of others, including Tesla. Hold that thought. But if I said to you, think of a Chinese selection of car brands, there you're probably likely to get a little bit stuck. Well, here's one. It's called the BYD Seal. And as I just mentioned there, the Tesla word, this BYD Seal is out to attack the Tesla Model 3. And interestingly, I think they're doing rather a good job of it. Hello, my name's John Marcar, you're watching Driven, and this is the BYD Seal. So, who is BYD? What is a BYD? How has this company just appeared from nowhere, seemingly, and started to make cars? Well, the simple answer to that is, well, they haven't. They've actually been making cars for the past 10 years or so, and beyond that time, they've been making stuff. Lots of stuff. And in fact, I can almost guarantee that you either own right now or have owned something that has BYD technology inside it. They started out as a battery manufacturer, specialising in rechargeable batteries. So if you had a good old-fashioned Nokia phone, chances are you had a BYD battery in your phone. Right now, if you own an iPad, there is a 50% chance that BYD make the batteries that power your iPad. But also, in the world of cars, if you've had a Tesla or even seen a Tesla, then you've probably seen a BYD product in there, because at the point of Tesla starting, they were using BYD batteries, and they still use BYD technology in some of their products now. So, long story short, BYD make stuff, and it's perhaps no surprise that BYD have now decided to start making cars. And this is their latest one. So, no secret then that BYD is having an attack on the Tesla, and specifically the Tesla Model 3. And they're doing a rather good job at it, certainly attempting to at least. So the question you're probably wanting to know is, well, is it any good? Just because they make everything in-house, just because they've come up with this big strategy, they've made a car that looks pretty good looking and has loads of technology, is it good? Well, yeah, it is actually. So here we are in our BYD Seal. So this is what's called the all-wheel drive excellence trim. And that basically means, as the name suggests, all four wheels are driven. There is a two-wheel drive version also available, and that one comes at a slightly lower cost and has slightly better range in terms of mileage. This one will top out about 323 miles when fully charged, and the two-wheel drive version will top out at about 354. Price-wise, this one comes in at £48,000, which is considerably more than the Tesla Model 3, but BYD know that, and in fact, they've made a point of saying, we don't want our car to be the cheapest, we want it to be the best. And interestingly, that's the angle they're going for with this. Now, from a first impressions point of view, from the minute of getting in the car, I have to say, things are actually pretty positive. This is a nice place to be. The quality and fit and finish in here is more than just looks. It genuinely feels good. And I've got luxuries like double glazed glass, which means that driving along is nice and quiet. I've got a premium audio system in here as well, made in-house by BYD. It's not the best I've heard, but it's okay. Gets the job done.
Sorry, try me again?
And what you can hear there is BYD's virtual assistant that listens to me all the time. Sometimes it's very handy, and other times it just listens at the wrong times.
Will you ring me back?
Like now. No.
Unfortunately, I can't help you with that yet.
It's understandable. But you can ask it to do quite clever things like, "Hi BYD, open all my windows."
Are you sure you want to open the window that much?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Window opens. Hi BYD. Close the window. Admittedly, that's a bit of a quirk, because obviously I could just go down and open the window like that, but it shows that the technology is there. It's been thought about. I actually misquoted a figure when I was outside of the car earlier and said that BYD had been around for about 10 years. Well, they have been around for about 10 years in the UK, but a lot longer than that in China, because they've actually been making cars over there since 2003. And what they did was actually something quite clever. They decided to purchase another car manufacturer rather than going about it completely on their own. And the manufacturer they purchased was called, forgive the pronunciation if I get this wrong, Quinchong Auto. And Quinchong Auto have been around for donkey's years, so made the perfect platform for BYD to dip their toe in the water and have a go at making their own cars. And what they produce now is, well, completely different to Quinchong, because if I show you a car from Quinchong's prime, you'll notice it doesn't look anything like this. Here's one. The Seal is the third car from BYD that's launched in the UK. They started off with little hatchbacks, the Dolphin and the Atto, and probably intentionally didn't really make much of a song and dance about their arrival. They wanted the cars to exist and be present on the road, but they were quite happy to just let them bumble along. Those that knew about them, those that didn't, well, they didn't really matter. But with the Seal, that's changing. And BYD are making a really big song and dance about making sure that as many people as possible know about this car. And rightly so. I think it's important that they do. They've also decided to focus on something very important that I think a lot of skeptics might be surprised by, and that thing is safety. This thing has a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating, and they've done a really good job at ensuring that the car is as safe as it possibly can be. And it does so with clever things. Firstly, with a really rigid chassis, and secondly, it's got loads of technology to help with safety features, things like collision avoidance, lane departure assistance. It monitors what other cars are doing on the road. If they're slowing down ahead of you, the car will slow down for you. It has auto braking functions. It has all sorts of clever systems to make sure that you, as the driver, and crucially, your occupants inside the car, your passengers, are all safe in the worst case scenario. Now, one other thing that BYD have done on the grounds of safety is involving their battery technology. Now, the batteries themselves are called blade batteries. This is something that BYD have come up with. And without boring you with the ins and outs of technical details and engineering jargon, it basically means they're a lot safer than the typical lithium-ion batteries that you would find in cars. There's a really horrible, crucial test that EV manufacturers have to go through when making their EVs, and the test is called the nail test. It essentially sees a huge spike get pushed into the battery cells to see what happens in the event of them being pierced. Now, as you're probably aware, when a battery cell gets pierced, something very dramatic happens and they burst into flames. Well, not these. The test, which I'll show you on screen right now, shows the blade going right through the cells without any event, any explosion or any combustion. And that means that this, from a safety point of view, is pretty good. Those cells are also mounted within the car quite cleverly. They are mounted in a way that BYD are calling cell-to-chassis technology. That's good, firstly, for even more safety. It means that they're stored within the car. In the point of an impact or an accident, they're far less likely to get ruptured. But also it means that the car is given a far better weight distribution. There's actually a 50-50 axle to body weight distribution because of the way these batteries are mounted. And that means that the BYD is also quite dynamic from a handling point of view. And that surprised me. What BYD really want to do with this car is get it right. And there's a good reason for that. As I say, before this, there were 2 models, but that's in the past 10 years. In the next 10 months, BYD are planning on launching as many as 8 new cars to the European market. So it's important that the perception of the brand is a good one and that people are regarding BYD as a brand they might want to consider. And I should probably point out, many people already are, because towards the end of last year, in 2023, these BYDs were outselling Tesla in the UK. And that's quite impressive. I'm going to utilise some of the car's technology now by turning on the ACC and ICC. ICC stands for Intelligent Cruise Control. ACC stands for Active Cruise Control. And what that's doing is it's reading road signs as we drive along through these villages. It can see what the speed limit is and it can alter the cruise control to adapt to that. The car is slowing myself down because it's noticed there a Nissan Navara ahead of me. I didn't touch the brake pedal at all at that point. The car has just cautiously lowered my speed so I can get around the parked cars on the left-hand side of the road. Now I can override the cruise control. For example, if I pop this up to 60 miles an hour, which is the limit I'll be entering very shortly. There we are, into a 60 mile per hour limit. The car will now allow itself to accelerate to 60, but no more. I can also turn on lane departure assist, which means that the car will assist me in steering around corners. I could, in theory, entirely remove my hands from the steering wheel and the car will steer itself and keep itself in the lane. It's not the best system I've found at doing that, but it is probably something that's going to get better with time as technology gets updated and software is updated remotely. So, you know, for a brand new company to be doing technology like this, it seems to work good enough at the moment. EVs, all EVs, are quite heavy things. Batteries come with a big weight, and that often means that the driving dynamics of the car is compromised. Even car manufacturers that pride themselves on building cars that handle brilliantly, well, they're having a hard time at the moment making their cars steer well because there's so much weight through the corners. BYD, though, have made this really quite impressive. This thing handles brilliantly, far better than I ever could have imagined. And I know friends of mine that have taken these things on track, and even there, in that environment, say that they're actually quite impressive. And the other thing that electric cars are pretty good for is acceleration. And this thing is good at that as well. This will accelerate this Excellence all-wheel drive edition from 0 to 62 in 3.8 seconds. That is quite comfortably in supercar territory. And yet, this is a big, luxurious, comfortable family car. I'll demonstrate how quickly this thing accelerates by calling upon some assistants, namely cameraman Luke and social media manager Henry. Let's go and pick them up and see what they think about the way that this thing accelerates. As standard, the Seal comes with 3 driving modes, and they're all very self-explanatory. You've got Eco for the best preservation of range. You've got normal mode, which allows you to accelerate quickly if you want to or need to, but also keeps everything in check. And then you've got full-blown sports mode, which enables the car to accelerate at its fastest rate. That gives you that 0 to 60 in about 3.8 seconds. That's the bit I'll be using, or the mode I'll be using, I should say, to impress Henry and Luke. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, hello.
John. So yeah, I wanted to get a real life reaction to the performance of the BYD Seal. So I thought we'd just go for a little drive and yeah, see what you think.
Cool.
So for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of meeting Luke and Henry before, this is Luke, responsible effectively for all of our filming, camera work, editing. Henry, back there, is responsible for all of our social media stuff. Both petrol heads, you've both been in fast cars before.
Yeah.
Luke, you own a RX-7, which has how many horsepower?
None at the moment because it's got an oil leak.
Okay, well, if it were to work, how many horsepower would it have?
Over 500.
Right, there you go. So not a slow car. Do you know what the 0 to 60 time is?
Nah.
Do you think it's any quicker than 3.8 seconds?
You'd be hard pressed. I don't think so.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm 1.
Christ!
So we got to 60 very quickly there.
I need an adult. Oh, that was stupid. That was so stupid. Oh.
But the mad thing is it's also quite quick through the corners, which is a bit unusual for a big heavy EV. And I'll see if I can find myself a nice little fun road to demonstrate that without making you feel too ill. It's quite addictive.
Can you not?
I need a wee now. I've got Seal stuck in my head.
And if that sounded slightly off key, that's because we did it on purpose to not trigger copyright law. Baby!
Fuck!
Right, well there we have it. There's the BYD Seal all-wheel drive excellence, and as proven to be quite fast with the help of Luke and Henry. So why don't we park up and do some conclusive thoughts.
Cool, get me out. Get me out.
Oh, it was fine. Still not swollen. So, I'd like to know what you think. BYD Seal, is it a worthy competitor for a Tesla Model 3? Personally, I think yes it is. And in fact, given that BYD are planning on launching so many new cars in the not too distant future, I think that it's only going to get better. And in fact, I might even say it's going to become a bit of a Android versus iPhone battle. Tesla is definitely the iPhone. It seems to be the trendy one to choose at the moment. But this is more Android, very good at doing what it needs to do, very efficiently, very quietly, very brilliantly, very quickly. I think this might be the start of brand familiarity for BYD. And I'd like to know if you agree. So let me know in the comments below. I'll reply to as many as I possibly can. And if you're thinking, hang on, I want to know more about this BYD, I want to know about boot storage and performance and battery capacity and all that sort of stuff, well, fear not. I've done that in the form of a written article. You can find that in the bio below, a link directly through to the Driven website where you can see my full written words. The article is called Who is BYD? I'll explain more there. For now, I will say thank you so much for watching. Don't forget you can see everything else that we do at driven.site. That's the website. But if you haven't done so already, hit the little subscribe button, hit the little bell to get the notifications of the next video upload that we do. And we look forward to bringing you more of the same and more very, very soon. Thanks. Bye.